What's going on YouTube? This is Squids. We're trying something new this come around this season besides my basic seasonal reviews. Um, Alex, or as he wants to be called now, Mr. Etchy Man himself. Uh,
It's
we're gonna be.
it's the etchy guy, all right? The
Oh,
etchy
okay,
guy.
okay. My bad, my bad. We're gonna. I think the
Not
man.
to be confused with the itchy guy who has skin conditions.
Exactly. So you don't want to be that guy. But we're gonna do
No.
a multi-person review of Chain Soldier throughout the season to add on top of our little Squid Tales things that we do. Kind of see how this goes, considering I probably wasn't originally gonna cover this, but Alex, etchy guy, it seems to be very, very much in the zone of this series, considering he's read it and everything. So he asked me, and I said, you know what, screw it, let's do it. So, yeah, I guess we're going to talk about the first two episodes this week because last week things just kind of sucked for everybody in this camp here. So, because
Yeah, yeah.
we're the best at practical timing.
Busyness. Busyness and busyness and busyness. What with having a child and work responsibilities and
You
cleaning
know,
house responsibilities and whatnot, that happens.
work responsibilities.
Well, I'm gonna quit my job and become the etchy guy. I've decided. So, yeah,
Oh,
I've got to watch just a bunch of etchy and tell people about it.
no, that's perfect. I mean, if that's the way you want to go, that's the way we're gonna go.
And
So,
then I'm also gonna just say out there shit. We're gonna keep the out there shit going because I'm pretty entertaining facet in this whole situation and why I keep coming back here.
yeah, entertainment equals value to the soul. Let's so
Yes,
episode one, right?
go. We're going. Yes, episode one.
So far,
So
I'm trying to exactly go back a week now because I was naughty and I didn't cap anything. But from what I remember, starting off, we pretty much just have Yuki, if I'm not mistaken. Or does it
yep.
start out? Okay. And he's kind of just moaning
So
and groaning about his life, and his friends are like pretty much, like trying not to bring up the sister factor, which I'm assuming she's either dead or I don't want to jump to the second episode already, but I feel like later on we're gonna get introduced to this gal, but I'll let you put some input in
hmm
this first chapter here.
So I'm gonna say this. I've read everything that's out for the manga right now, and I loved it. This first chapter. So first off, if I want to like just start with just reviewing the basics, I don't like the whole. I like the opening song. I don't like what they do before the opening, where it's like, I want to be the supreme commander and I want to be a hero. I think that's fucking corny as shit. Like, they need to cut that shit off and just jump into world building, which they did a very good job. It followed very closely to the manga that I read in that first chapter. But
Okay.
anyway,
Okay.
so we should probably give some premise for some people who don't watch or haven't read. But anyway, there's this. It's kind of sort of an alternate Earth where there's this fruit. I think they call them peaches. I can't
Peaches.
remember what the fruit is right off. I thought it was. I thought they said something about peaches, like the
I don't
peach or something like that.
I don't remember anything about peaches, but like
There's a magical fruit, and when girls eat it, they get special powers, and when guys eat it, nothing happens. So it's an alternate sort of reality where girls all got superpowers and are kind of like the ruling class over the essentially useless man.
so pretty much any power fantasy anime.
Pretty much. So yeah, you got these guys. Fucking, it's kind of goofy because like Yuki, his character is really into fucking cleaning and tidying things up, but he also wants to have a more exciting life. So You kind of
He's
get into this situation where it's like he's got to deal with the mundane when he gets the whole opposite gender gets to deal with this fantastical type of lifestyle,
so
you know,
it's
and
op- opposite realism.
yeah, opposite realism. Well, I'm not going to say exactly opposite realism because right now, you know, we all I'll say it, we're kind of all on even keel, men and women. It might be a controversial opinion, but you know, pretty much if you want to do it, you can do it nowadays. Like, you know, if you want to fucking have a job where you're gonna fucking die deep sea fucking welding and all that shit, have at it, women. But
So yeah, he's he's
coming
in
out the
the
gate swinging.
he's in this classroom, and his two friends are just like, yeah, 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 and then like out of nowhere, he just leaves school, walking home.
Well, again, they're avoiding talking about his sister because there's these things called Mato incidents, which we'll talk about in just a moment.
I was, thanks, narrator. Yeah, because
Well, add some premise. Add some premise. There's a lot going on in that first scene. Like,
is there
so
like,
fucking he
I mean,
loses
like,
his sister. Well, so yeah, well,
but
it comes.
we
It's
don't
not like
really get to see him losing his sister. It's just, it's not even like
you
really,
see it.
it's not even like
You
really
literally see it in the
described.
first couple seconds of the episode. Like every episode kind of starts off similarly, where it shows kind of the past traumas of the two sort of main protagonists, and I mean, it doesn't show it graphically or anything, but you can see them fucking the pain in his face. You can see the fact that what's her nuts? I hold on, I got the fucking. I always pull up character names so I can remember them right off the bat.
Are we talking?
Kayuka, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
whatever. Her, okay, so she lost her family. He lost his sister. It's all related to this. What we're going to talk about in a minute here. Actually, let's continue telling the story first, and
So,
then we'll get into that part.
so
But they all got
we're
they lost someone due to this thing we're about to talk about.
he's walking down the strip and he sees two two little kids, right? And brother and sister, if I'm not mistaken. And literally,
Yes.
like right when he's like, isn't he like at this very moment, like mentally actually thinking about like wanting to become a part of the, or pretty much a hero to that extent, because he doesn't want to live the mundane life of going to a business job every single day of his fucking life.
Well, he's kind of having those thoughts of like, I wish I could be like the girls in the series. You know, I wish I could have the powers. If I had the powers, my life wouldn't be boring. I don't think so much he's thinking about hero at that point, but I feel like he's always kind of thought about being a hero because, again, what happened with his sister in his past.
Trauma. It's a
Trauma,
thing.
yeah, makes us all want to be heroes.
Yeah, I am a hero in my own life, but
If I tell
that's
stories, I'm the hero always, never the
that.
villain.
Yeah, I'm never the villain, even if it's from a different perspective. So,
It's that guy that was there that caused everything.
and then, so within like 10 seconds after this, like pretty much he like out of nowhere, no expectancy, pretty much gets sucked into this like the void you were talking about. What's the word? The Mong
Mato, Mato.
and Mato. See,
I
next week I'll have a little more. This week is I'm trying to go off the shotgun off my head right now, and let me tell you, so far, not to get off course, but this season, oh man, it's so much etchy this season. Like not even in like tits, 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 tits everywhere. But so he goes to the
it's a culture.
he goes to the Monto, and obviously he's defenseless again. We get to see what they kind of look like, and like they look like I'm trying to think of exactly. They almost look like A Zel like the what are those things called? From the like have you ever played Majora's Mask?
I've watched a lot of Let's Plays for Majora's Mask, but I didn't play it back in the day, so I never went back and tried to play it.
They almost
But
look like the giants from Majora's Mask.
so I'd kind of describe them as like one of the big ass enemies from like Kingdom Hearts, one of the big ass Heartlesses, because it's got that sort of shadow form, and then threw like a mask on it. And honestly, like they're not super like detailed, cool masks. God, I can't. There's a series that uses a similar like face style, and I can't remember what it is. But
See,
anyway, it's like a Heartless with like a white mask.
and you see, I've never played Kingdom Hearts, so
For fucking shame, dude. It's phenomenal. The rest of the series just all confusing. It's all about friendship and heart and stuff like that. Like who doesn't love friendship?
I could just
People
watch.
without friends probably.
Hey, I probably could just probably
How's it going?
probably could just watch the English dub of Yu-Gi-Oh at that point then.
Well, fuck it. No, because no, no. That's all about the heart of the cards
And friendship.
and the friendship with the heart of the cards.
Exactly. So, yeah, this is where my disappointment slightly started to kick in because I get it.
Yeah, I
I,
kind of
I
have to agree with you there.
the CGI on these monsters is horrendous.
It's
Like,
fucking ass, dude. And then I don't know if you felt this way, but when you enter this Mato world, I was expecting a cool world, what with reading the anime, well, reading the manga, but it felt fucking flat, if that makes sense.
yeah, it looks like pretty much
Like the
any
backgrounds almost seem to have no depth.
right. It almost feels like any like generic insert series subdimensional land. Like
Yeah,
it's just
it was very
boring.
disappointing.
And that's when
Yeah,
I told myself, I'm like, oh man, this better be good because oh man, I'm gonna have to put up with this for what, 13 episodes?
something like that. I think fucking volumes wise, we're on fucking I'll look on my phone real quick because I got all the books on there, but I think we're like 11 volumes in or something like that right now on the series. See,
11
I would
vol
honestly recommend reading the series to anyone. Oh, well, 11 chapters, volumes, whatever you want to call them.
I was gonna say that
No,
if
it's
that's
seven.
11 volumes.
It's seven. No, it's 5 volumes out and 2 more announced. So
Okay, okay.
7 kind of in total planning right now.
So good to know.
But
But
yeah,
right after that, if I remember correctly, um, he gets his doesn't he get his butt saved pretty quick after this by Uzen?
yeah, fucking Uzan comes riding in on one of the
The B
Shuki,
yeah,
I think they're called.
the BDSM machines.
Yes, the fucking they
Ball
kind of are like fucking gimps.
yeah, and she
Like
they
let's face it, that's a good way to describe them, demon gimps.
they got the mask on and she puts that ball gag right in their mouth and she's like, hop on, buddy.
Fucking chain around the neck, fucking. Oh yeah, she's kind of a kink master, and that's her special power from eating the magic fruit. So if you want to get kinky, eat some fruit, guys.
But don't eat, don't eat, don't eat the Mera from One Piece because that's the flame fruit. Totally different. Just stick with the
I
peaches.
mean, that's pretty hot though.
One Piece,
Millions of peaches.
peaches for
No, I was
free.
just talking about. I was making a joke about the flame fruit, and you're like, "Oh, you don't want the flame fruit," and I was like, "That's hot."
Oh,
Fucking stupid. It's dumb. It's a dad joke.
oh no! You're gonna
Gotta
start
insert
sounding.
them when I can.
Yeah, you're gonna start sounding like my dad. Um, so so she saves him, and they're heading down the strip, the 101. They're heading down the strip of the good old Mato, and they see, if I remember correctly, the little boy that was on the street while he was there, the little brother. And,
Yeah, and then the sister's under attack by the creatures at the same time. So they kind of the little kids are kind of like, "Come on, help us, help us!" So then, yeah, they stop and help them, and
and
that's where another bit of disappointment starts for me.
I was gonna say, because then we're introduced pretty much to Azuma, Suruga, and I want to say Ne, if I remember her name correctly, but the little pink hair, blondie, and blue hair,
Yeah,
and they're in the 2002 Ford Escape military edition, and
pretty much just rolling through, not a care in the world, road tripping. It's like the fucking Final Fantasy fucking what 15 all over again, but with ladies.
yeah, I didn't play 15. I didn't play any Final Fantasy, but there, if it's a
But there's so many of the Final Fantasy.
yeah, the Final Fantasy can't really be the Final Fantasy because we've had at least what 17 Final Fantasies now or 16. Either way,
Okay, let's grip off and tangent off on a fun fact. The reason why it was called Final Fantasy is the company was going under, and that was their last chance to save themselves. And a lot of you other nerds out there will probably already know this, but yeah, it blew the fuck up, and then they just turned it into a series, and that's why it's kind of funny. The more you
that's
know.
the more I know. So if I so so what was your before we went into this? What was your gripe with this scene that you were gonna go into?
So yeah, we get introduced to the other characters. Love the other characters too. Honestly, like for the most part, the characters in this series are good, but we slowly get into combat here, and oh boy, do I have things to say about the combat sequences. So of course she's she's running. So it kind of gets explained very actually like shortly here, but she's running with her little Mato minion. Um, they go stop save the kids, but the whole thing is like she uses the Mato to fight. No, the Shuki to fight because they're in Mato. Gets a little confusing because there's a bunch of just words. But she uses the Shuki to fight. The Shuki's slow and lumbering, and she's all of a sudden like this Shuki's fucking useless. Gets just murked by the other ones. So then she's trying to save the girl. I'm pretty sure the boy
He gets into
doesn't the
the
boy go off and get saved by the like yeah he gets into the fucking jeep thing,
I say he gets
the
in that
fucking military Ford Escape as you
in O2
so
military Ford
lovingly
Escape.
called it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so they
Yep.
disappeared,
But
and her slave boy's been killed.
the two yeah, so she throws down like this cool barrier, and I thought that effect was pretty cool because I barriers and shit in anime it's classic. It's just classic, anti-evil barriers and what like that.
Oh, classic
So
KK.
barriers starting to collapse on her. Yep. So barriers starting to collapse on her because they're overwhelmed. Like they're overwhelmed by a lot of fucking numbers right now. It's actually it should be a pretty intense scene, but it didn't feel that intense, and that's kind of one of the gripes I have there. Like it didn't feel like it might be because I knew what was going to happen. You haven't read the series, have you?
No, you're talking to
Okay,
the
so
you're
how did
talking
it
to the
feel to you in that?
very anticlimactic. Like it,
Exactly.
like
It's
the
you
barriers
there
out,
doesn't
and
feel like there's any stakes there.
no, and then out of nowhere she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make you my bitch now," and he's like, "Huh?" And then like it was pretty. I'll admit it was pretty hot when she just stuck her finger in his mouth. Not gonna whine about
Yeah, I
that.
do like that. I do like that, it's pretty fun. But
And,
then fucking
and
dude just turns beast mode. Like I,
you know what he looks like?
again, I didn't like that they CGI'd it.
You know what he looks like?
What does he look like to you?
He looks like War Greymon.
What? Yeah, I kind of got real big Digimon vibes off of that like transformation too.
Um,
honestly.
I
But
was like, oh look, it's more Greymon. Ex-
but anyway, like so fucking she makes him suck on his finger and she's like, you want to be a hero, you want to be saved, right? You got to be my slave.
yeah,
And that's her whole power, is like enslaving beings and whatnot. We haven't covered that yet, but essentially she enslaves, she's usually using shuki for this, but she creates kind of sort of a slave contract with a, I don't know how else to put that, but then she kind of has control over them. They fight alongside each other. It kind of unlocks like latent power. We're gonna talk some like Dragon Ball terminology here, but it unlocks their latent ability. And yeah, she uses them to fight other Shuki, and it's usually Shuki. You don't really get to see much of this because this is the first episode, but as she kind of so lovingly states, yeah, I usually make contracts with Shuki. I've never made a contract with a man. Then fucking just boop, finger in mouth,
yeah.
and yeah, it turns into a beast.
He turns
And
into what?
this is where my main, it's where one of my main gripes come in. So a
In what?
combat starts, okay?
Yep.
And it has no fucking weight behind it. It has no speed behind it. So if you're having combat in anime, I feel like you need to cover like one of three bases. Those three bases would be like extraordinary technique.
Okay.
I'm gonna fucking use some Dragon Ball Z to kind of compare this, but like Goku's Ultra Instinct form in Super, that's good
Lame.
technique right there. You see technique, he's
Lame.
moving around. It is lame, but he's moving around. It's less I see I honestly like, I like Super because I like Dragon Ball, but I thought Super lost a lot of what made Z good in
Dude,
my opinion. Like the
the
combat
tournament
feels
of
slower.
power
It's
is like
yeah,
so dragged out.
it really is. It really is. It's worse than fucking Frieza, but we're not talking about that right now.
Yes,
We're
I
using
know.
comparisons. So like another good, what would be like, okay, let's use Cowboy Bebop, how like Spike fights and stuff like that. He fights with good technique. He's not super fast. He doesn't have a lot of power behind him. You either need good technique or you need speed. The fights are so slow. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, like in
Or
this
you
like
need weight.
yeah, and like this fight, it was like he went in and he just like literally demolished everything in like a minute. Like he went up.
But
s-
it didn't feel like a feat of anything cool though. That's like the problem. It had no weight behind it, no technique, no speed. It just felt slow, lumbering, like he was just kind of there to kill those things. It's almost like fucking they want you to focus on the etchy that's barely even in the first episode.
I feel like if I do want to step on this, in its defense, which I don't know, why I'm defending it so far, but in its defense, this is like, sure, we don't know exactly the strength of them, but basing off the fact that there's like a fuck ton of these motherfuckers around, that they're probably like the lower of the totem pole. And obviously, with his transformation and her powers, it's maybe to an extent trying to emphasize on like how strong of like a pair they are, even though they are weak beings, obviously.
But
But you can
but
go.
even then, like what's another anime that kind of uses that sort of level of like, I'm trying to think of another example, but there's a good way to make your characters look good while fighting the weaker enemies. Like it didn't look, it's not that it looked effortless either. Like it would be cool if it looked effortless, but it looked just, it was kind of boring. Again,
Yeah.
no weight, no technique, no speed. Again, it was effortless for them, but it didn't look effortless. Like it didn't look like this was some big feat that they just did after this moment where they all think they're gonna fucking die. Like they were ready to die at that point.
Well, I know at least Yuki
Well, at least
was
she
for sure.
was. Well, No, Yuki was the one that wasn't like really ready to die. He was kind of going through that "Am I gonna die here" thing. But like, um,
And and
Uzun, she was definitely ready to die at that point because I think she even says something about like life is out here. This is the life of what is it like Mato Defense Force or something like that. I
yeah,
can't remember
yeah.
what the actual terminology for their whole organization is, but she was sitting there being like, "This is life. This is the cards life has dealt me a chance," and that's when she, shoves her finger in his mouth,
And I
and this
guess
whole battle
right,
that should have been epic started, but it just really wasn't. It's
and I
the
guess
first battle of the series was a letdown.
right, and I guess before that, even like I guess right before this, I forgot to add the when he actually jumps off of the slave and tries to defend the little girl from getting attacked right
Oh
away,
yeah, yeah,
which comes to fruition
yeah. I
after the battle when she pretty much she said that she like the main reason she did it was how like senseless it was for him to actually risk his own life to defend the little girl, and that's pretty much the main reason why she chose him in the first place because well obviously her life depended on it, and then on top of it he wasn't a quote unquote chauvinistic pig.
yeah, but so yeah, so anyway, they effortlessly beat up all the fucking Shuki. It's not very entertaining, and then they kind of rendezvous with the rest of the squad. And then she's like, "You're gonna be my slave. I could see myself rising to power with you and becoming the supreme commander of all the commanders, Yuki. But you're also gonna be our maid and our cook.
But
You're gonna,
you
wash
forgot
all our
about
clothes."
you forgot about the reward.
The what?
The
Oh,
reward.
the reward. The main draw of this series. Okay, so Uzin's got to reward her slaves equal to what they want, and equal to the effort they put out. So usually she's dealing with Shuki, and usually Shuki will just, they're fine with some food, a piece of meat. But now she's dealing with a young boy in the throes of adolescence.
And he
So
wants a piece of meat.
she got to go. Exactly. She gotta go throw that tongue down that boy's throat. And I mean, okay, that part was pretty decent. I mean, it was pretty mild and tame for the whole series, honestly, for the most part. But it's just this fucking good ass makeout section session. They throw the fucking pink gradiated star background in there. You can see the tongue, the drool, the spit, all that stuff. She gets done. She's like, "So that's what you want for your reward, you pervert."
And then like she has to
Yeah,
go in for the second dip too. Like it's not just the first dip.
exactly.
She comes in twice. Like man, this man just I can't wait to see what the rewards are the further we go down the series because if that's
Oh my god, dude! Some of them get pretty fucking great.
because if that's the reward we got from just fighting off these basic minions, I can only imagine what happens when the big shit king shit comes around and they slaughter him. Like, is he? Oh man,
Yeah,
whew. But yeah, so then we
yeah,
get.
and
No, you can go. You're good.
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I know a lot of the rewards, and some of them do get pretty fucking entertaining. But like the whole thing about these rewards is she can't not give them. Her body kind of moves on its own. It's part of her power. So like she's sitting there pretty much like not wanting to do this, but has to do it because it's the reward for her minion, and she's just it gets kind of funny, honestly.
And
But
if I remember correctly,
yeah,
before they meet back up at the dojo, does it flash back to like when she was because before she ate the peach, how she was like supposedly really good at like physical combat, but her power, which obviously we get introduced to, is like quote unquote not a good power compared to what other people have, if I remember correctly.
so, by my understanding, when she was training really, really hard, it was because her power wasn't good and she couldn't rely on it. So, I don't think that flashback is from before the power.
Okay, okay.
I think
So,
that's after she had gotten her power. If but I could be wrong, but that's how I remember it.
oh, I trust your word. Like I said, you're the source material for this one. So so they get back. They get back.
Yeah, I've
eh,
read.
yeah. How long? By the way, when did this start becoming a manga? Like what year did you start reading this?
Actually, like, so I had finished reading Chainsaw Man my second time through because the newest volume was just releasing, which is fantastic. But we'll talk about that some other time. And I was just looking through, and then I read what was the other one? Fucking, I was going through my recommendations. I started reading it actually only a couple months ago, and just kind of got hooked and just kept buying volume after volume because like digital volumes are kind of cheap compared to buying physicals. Like I'll buy a physical for this at some point, but that's just because I like it. But it all started off with me reading "Please Put Them On" Takamin-san, whatever.
Akame?
That's a whole different story. And if yeah, that's a whole different story. If you've never read that manga, dude, you got to read that. That shit's fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah,
We could
I've
talk
read it.
about it during. We could talk. Okay, we could talk about it a little bit during Squid Tales because we always tangent a little bit on those.
Yes.
But I read that and then I was like, because this chapter in my life is going to be just sort of accepting my degeneracy as it is. So I was like, you know what, I want to read some more etchy. That was fun. So I looked up like what kind of the popular etchies were at this point in time, and Chain Soldier was kind of the top for manga on the list I looked at. So I was like, you know what, I'll give this one a shot. And I fucking just started reading it. And I think I really only started reading it a couple months ago, as I said. But I pounded through it all within a couple days. So that's how entertained I was with it.
I mean that kind of
And
makes
I
sense.
do think that like a lot of my gripes too that I have with this animation was done better in the manga. In that first combat sequence that we talked about that felt disappointing in the animation, it actually felt like it had that weight behind it in the manga itself. That's kind of why I'm looking at it and saying, this is disappointing. I feel like if I would not have read the source material, I might have a little bit different of opinion on it.
You know what's funny?
What?
The mangaka that wrote Chain Soldier also wrote
Yeah.
Akame ga Kill.
Yeah, I haven't. I can't remember if I actually fucking watched or read that or anything.
And also, and I'm being Mr. Statistics guy right now. It's number 243 in popularity on my anime list for the manga. So that's definitely why it probably popped up for you.
200. Is that good? Is that good?
Out of everything on the database, it's number 243 for manga. That's pretty high.
Okay, good stuff. So yeah, that's probably why it popped up for me. But I enjoyed the manga. I
Yeah.
have, and um, we're almost to the end of the first episode
Yeah, because
at
don't
this point.
we
C-
get like firmly introduced to like Azuma and Suruga and freaking Ne at the building
Yeah,
where we come to find out essentially that
and we
Yuki
kind of
is gonna be the bitch boy for the whole place.
yeah, and we kind of get a brief, introduction to their personalities, a very brief one at that. But you kind of have Nay, who is like fucking your stereotypical,
L-
let's
l-
fucking just call it what it
Loli.
is, a little lole. Yeah, we'll call it what it is. But cutesy little character that's just kind of sort of innocent, little pink hair girl. And you got Shushu. Now we're gonna talk a little more about Shushu in the next episode we're talking about. But I like her. She's one of my favorites from the series, honestly, and then like she just kind of is.
And then
But
Azuma.
she's kind of got the playful. She's kind of got like the playful personality, and Azuma's got the super serious fucking. I will not have my panties washed by a man personality.
Sundere. She's
It's
Sundere
kind of
as
her
fuck.
vibe. Yeah. But you get introduced to these characters, and it's again, it's a very brief introduction, and like we'll talk about their powers a little bit. So Shushu, she can kind of, because you do kind, well, you don't really see Shushu's powers in the first episode, do you?
No, I mean, like honestly, you don't really get to see. Which I guess that's pretty much the end of this episode, isn't it? Like he gets
Well, because
there.
I'm pretty sure we skipped over a part with Azuma, because I'm pretty sure you see Azuma's powers briefly in the
Yeah,
first episode. But yeah,
yeah,
this is pretty much the end of the first episode. But we should talk about her powers a little bit, because what you see in the first episode, I think, is doesn't she turn her arm into a gun?
yeah, yep, yep. And she's about the only
Yeah,
one
that
we get
happens
to
within
see,
the first
really.
episode. Yeah, so yeah, she's pretty cool. Her powers are cool. She can in the first episode you see she can turn her arm into a gun and various other armaments. But it's a dope power. Like I would turn my arm into a gun if I could. That'd be pretty cool. Just fucking, murk some there's really nothing I would have to murk in this world, because we don't live in the magical world of anime, but it's a pretty good power. Um, but yeah, and then we get pretty much the end of the episode where he learns that he's going to be a little slave man and stuff like that. And
Cooking,
yeah, they
cleaning,
kind of go over
and vaginas.
and their sisters' vaginas.
That he is now John Lejoie, and except he's the woman. So
But
good.
so we also kind of get a touch on what the whole situation between Yuki and Uzun is gonna be. She's gonna use him because she's never had a slave that strong, and she realizes with that power she can kind of climb the ranks. She can achieve her goals that you kind of get in the background, and at the same time, Yuki, who sort of has the goal of being a hero, gets to achieve his goals at the same time. So he didn't do it all for the nookie, so you can keep your cookie.
Yeah, it's a very parasitic
Um,
relationship.
yeah, he wants well, it's like it's where both parasites kind of feed off each other.
Yeah,
She's got her own
they're doing
agenda.
a
He's got his
69.
agenda.
They're doing a 69.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
not yet. Maybe I don't even think that's in the chapters I've read. Maybe in some future chapters though.
I
But
hope so.
me too. I like their character designs. I'm gonna talk a little bit about eyes, because that's the thing that's my major gripe. One of my major gripes with this too is, I don't know if I've said it on any other Squid Tail episodes I've been on, but a huge thing for me in anime is the eyes. They have to look like they have life behind them and all this other stuff like that. And the only time the characters' eyes looked like they had life behind them was during the etchy sequence, honestly.
Well, yeah, that's where the money is.
Like, if I really think about it, that is where the money is. But like, the money shot isn't enough money at that first episode, at least. So I personally thought the first episode was a little disappointing.
Yeah, overall, the first episode to me was pretty mid, especially for being an opening episode. That I mean, like usually with an anime, I give it 3 episodes to give me some attraction, but especially being the first one
Yeah,
to try to draw you in, it was a little disappointing. Um, but I mean,
yeah, that's kind of my thought.
we still got 2 more weeks to impress the people. Granted, we're gonna cover all 12, but
Yep.
even if it turns into a shit pile, we're still covering it.
Yes.
So,
So
th-
let's start on
fine.
that second episode.
I was gonna say finally, let's get to the week of our Lord and Savior of week 2 winter 2024 anime.
Yes. I'm gonna say, I don't want to give too much away right off the bat, but this episode kind of redeemed a little bit,
You think so?
in my eyes. I think so. I don't
Okay.
think that it. I don't think that it fixed a lot of the gripes I had, but it got more into what the substance of the anime is.
You were just happy because you got to see Himari's boobies.
No, maybe a little bit, but I was a little more happy. We'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay, so
So yeah, I think the episode kind of. So how's the episode start again? Isn't he like cooking dinner or something?
yeah,
That's like the beginning of the episode. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I think he's either cooking lunch or dinner. I can't remember which meal it was, but he's doing that, and like they're telling him how good
And it looks
his
absolutely delicious.
yeah, and he's like, you know, really honored at the fact that he's, you know, getting complimented. And while he's going to scoop up some rice out of the rice box, he realizes that he's pretty much the bitch boy and the opposite of what he's wanting to do at this place, and starts to really kind of think and question his life choices.
Yeah, but it's funny because you can tell he's conflicted because he really likes receiving these compliments on something he does well, but at the same time, at this point, at this juncture, he doesn't feel like he's moving any further towards his goal of becoming a hero. And he thought he was going to be working alongside these girls instead of essentially being their housekeeper, which is what they call him. He's the housekeeper.
Right. And while, you know, Uzen's kind of like telling him just, you know, keep doing his jobs. And like Azuma's pretty much telling him to fucking do his job good or she'll kill him pretty much. While, you know, your favorite little blondie's over in the corner laughing about everything. And then Nay's pretty much going,
I know.
you got this. You got this.
Nay. It kind of comes to you kind of get to see a little more of Nay, and you can see that she is like a genuinely. She's like the support character for the most part,
Yeah, she's the little
and you get
Kohai
to see a
that
little bit
could.
of that in this. Yeah, so you get to see a little more of it in this anime. Like she's like, "Oh, will you teach me how to cook like this?" Kind of patting him a little bit more on the back than the others, and it's 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 nice that he's getting a little bit more recognition than he is getting from the other girls at this point. But fucking, he's like, "Oh, what time am I gonna, go on fight with you?" Blah blah blah. And then she's like, "Oh, I'll use you when I need you." We're talking about Uzen. Is like, "I'll use you when I need you," and that's when fucking Azuma's arm turns into a sword because he's not happy with the answer, and she's like, "You will obey the supreme commander." Fucking
Yeah, yeah, she's
straight like
got
katana arm at his neck. He's like, "Dude, what? She can make sword arms too?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then like right after that, of course, she gets called down and everything, and then he's doing like, if I'm not skipping anything, he's doing his house chores, and he's just coincidentally on the balcony right in front of the onsen,
Oh,
and
actually, I do think we skipped a major part because I think that episode starts with Nei and Yuki pretty much out on the bridge by the barrier, and Shiki start to attack the barrier and whatnot. They kind of say these are like the same type of Shiki that you see in the first episode. They kind of do say like these are the weak, these are the small fries and whatnot. Don't worry about it. Nei's trying to kind of reassure him that they don't really have to deal with it. And
yeah,
fucking Azuma's crazy ass just decides to machine gun arm like literally around those two. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
watching the animation, it's literally like bullets flying over their shoulders.
yeah, yeah.
And you're
You're
like,
you're
what?
totally right, and it's kind of like a
And
premonition for later on in the episode.
yeah, and she's like, and Yuki's turning around. He's like, you could have killed us. What if you hit one of us? Kind of where you get a little bit of Azuma's personality, where she's like, you really doubt my abilities, and she's kind of that kind of girl.
Yeah, yeah. See, I knew we were
Yeah.
forgetting something, but I couldn't remember exactly what the fuck it was. And the worst part is, you and I both watched this like 2 hours ago. But
But then we had to remember the first episode, and
I think,
things can happen when you're trying to remember an episode
yeah,
before the episode you just watched.
right,
I
right.
need to
So,
start taking notes for this. I'm gonna get better at this. I swear, guys.
oh yeah, exactly. And like I say, like I usually for my weekly reviews, I take notes and like everything and everything. But like for this one, it was pretty much crash and burn for this week. But
Yeah,
so yeah, anyways, that happens before the cooking scene, and then the cooking scene happens, and now he's on the porch or like the balcony above the onsen, and
yeah. He started doing his cleaning and chores at that point, and he kind of hears a noise.
yeah, and it ends up being Himari. getting ready to go take a nice bath, and of course he sees everything.
No, no, that's I think is that the part? No, because
Wasn't Himmerty taking a bath and then
oh yeah, no, this was I got a little bit of order out of order. So yeah, Himari was taking a bath, and my lovely girl Shushu
yeah,
decides to pop up and take some pictures of him looking at some titties on her phone. Is like, oh, guess what, motherfucker, you're my slave now too. Blackmail.
yeah, so
And
now
she's
we
got like very lighthearted, sort of sadistic, but still lighthearted personality going on here, kind of so you can get a feel for her character because she's very much that opportunistic, let's have fun type of character. And that's kind of why I like her in this series.
yeah, now
That is, she got some tig old bitties.
that she does. And so while that happens, she, like you said, he's her slave now. So he's, if I remember correctly, in order. Um, was he? Does he? Yeah, he does. He's cleaning her room after that, isn't he? Before the other girl. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So he's cleaning her room while she's just chilling on her phone, and he's like mentally trying to like think of any way to steal her cell phone so he can delete the pictures so he can stop being a
Oh
slave.
my,
And while
oh my
he's
God, this part is so great.
yeah, and while he's doing that, she takes the phone away and he picks up the holy grail of blue
No, nope,
stripe.
nope.
No,
We gotta point this out first.
okay.
She drops her phone on the ground.
Yes,
Now,
yeah.
what you're gonna say leads into something I'm gonna say after you say it. So say it.
He picks up accidentally, quote unquote, the blue stripe panties that are hers, and
So,
he instantly drops them. But
so I have a feeling that she strategically dropped her phone.
oh, easily, 100%. There's from what
Oh,
we find out,
100%.
from what we see a little bit later on, there's not a doubt in my mind she intentionally dropped her phone
Exactly.
on her panties. And so like he's like apologizing and everything, and like she tells him,
She's like saying it would be disgraceful for you to touch my panties normally and shit like that. But
yeah, but
but
you're a
you're a
slave.
housekeeper.
Yeah,
So
so
so wash my panties, bitch.
and then come to find out, she's also got a picture of him now with her panties. So now she's got this perfect balcony shot. She's got him holding her panties, and
And the
she's got this poor guy wrapped around her fucking arm.
and panty shot is she did not get it the first time he picked up her panties because the first time she gets like real close to him, he's like, "Oh, you turned red like a tomato," because he
Yeah,
drops the panties and shit. And then she's like, "Well, you have to clean them up. It's part of your duties." And then he picks them up again. He's like, "Well, whatever." And then she snaps a picture.
right, right. And it's perfect strategic amazingness. But
Like he looks so nonchalant when he's picking up the panties for the picture. It just makes it that much better.
oh yeah, I mean, he's got permission now. Why the hell would you make anything about it? Once you've got permission,
Yeah,
why would you stop?
exactly.
He's
Pick up all the panties you want,
you got
especially them blue striped ones.
oh yeah, the national flag.
I'm gonna fly that flag outside my house. First, I
That's
gotta go find one of those vending machines, though.
oh easily. We'll,
Exactly, easily.
we'll 2025 Japan trip. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll win the lottery. So
That's what we'll do. Or we'll get a night. Or you guys are gonna tell all your friends about this, and then he can monetize some of his episodes. Obviously, not the ones with me on them because I talk about some wild shit.
yeah,
But he can monetize some of his episodes.
I'll take Blue Chew as a sponsor. Manscaped.
You know,
I'll even
I
take.
got. I think I gotta tell your audience. I think I gotta tell your audience. I've I woke up and took a Cialis for this episode. Not really, but it's a running joke now that I keep making.
He woke up this morning ready for action, which ironically
Exactly.
kind of has to do with the rest of this episode. So,
Oh yes.
so after this situation happens, if I remember correctly, we kind of go back to like middle room to find out. I think Nay tells him that her and the other two girls are gonna go to headquarters for a meeting, if I remember correctly.
Well,
So,
so I think right after he leaves the room, um, hears the noise. I think we hear the noise first, and then Nate tells him what's going on.
yeah, because he hears a
So,
noise, but he doesn't know where it's coming from specifically.
so he decides to go to explore, and he sees Uzin and Azuma training out in the like bridge area where you kind of sort of see the Shuki earlier in the situation with Nate and Azuma earlier in the episode. So there's training, and I will say this: the girl to girl combat was a lot better choreographed, I think, than the girl to Shuki combat.
Well,
And
right,
at this
because
point,
it's not CG.
yeah, and at this point, you get to see it side by side because they're doing their training, and Uzin's kind of not being hard on Azuma, but is like, don't leave an opening, keep attacking, keep attacking. And then Ashuki shows up, so Uzin's like, let me handle this. I'll show you how it's done. Doesn't even fucking draw her katana or use her power, and just runs in and kicks the shit out of the Shuki in a couple seconds. And that part didn't look that great, like
It
comparatively to those two fighting. It held no weight, it held no speed. Like with those two fighting, there was technique behind it, there was speed, there was weight. It didn't feel like there were stakes or anything because you could tell it was training, but
That's what
that's
that's what
like
I'm saying. It's the CG. You can't do as much as you do with cell shading, which I
exactly.
I kind of understand, especially if it's a rush studio, for the efficiency and easiness of it. But at the same time, it pays off so much more if you just got that extra time to fucking cell shade it because CG is
Yeah.
it can be used right, like when
And if you use it, you have to use it for everything. You
not
can't pick and choose.
not necessarily because I don't
Well,
want
with
the
this style of CG, because this is like that pseudo 3D CG,
yes, I agree. Yeah, but
so
that's
it's jarring.
but then you're gonna get not to derail, but then you're gonna get the 2009 Berserk, and that looked a complete ass.
But I will say, like to derail a little bit more with good CG, I thought the most recent arc in standalone complex. I didn't watch the second season yet, but Ghost in the Shell. I thought their pseudo 3D CG was done very well there.
Yeah, it all depends on the studio. Because I mean, look at
Exactly.
did you watch Goblin Slayer?
I started watching it, but then I keep getting distracted by other animes. You
Okay.
know how it is. You know how it is.
Oh yeah, I do. Season one. I'll do this, and we'll get back to the episode. Season one was done by White Fox, which is one of my favorite studios of all time. And you might notice, but Goblin Slayer, 100% of the time his armor is CG. But White Fox does such a damn good job at it that you can barely
You
tell.
barely. Yeah.
And if you do it right like that, it makes sense. But with this context and action sequences, I really hope we get some other which you'll know and from the end of this episode I can tell we'll get a little different type of characters to fight and everything on, but as long as we don't keep getting the mass BDSM machines, it should be good. But like you said, we get the,
Exactly. Yeah.
we get the fight. She drop kicks it, and then we get that message or not message, but just conversation of how they're going to be leaving. And then once
Yep.
they
Going on them.
once they leave, he's
And Nay's leaving too. We can't forget that because you did just say Uzin and Azuma, so they're all leaving except for Shushu and Yuki. So they're
yeah
gonna be in that house alone. The chick who's blackmailing the dude.
Yes,
So
and right off the bat, um, if I remember precisely, he's giving her a shoulder rub,
yeah,
and while he's giving her the shoulder
yeah,
rub, she's pretty much asking him why he's so good at it, and we come to find out that he used to give his sister shoulder rubs quite frequently, and he's like
yeah, and
mentally griping about it, but at the same time he sees cleavage and then just kind of, decides that this is going to be
and
okay.
I think this is a good time to draw back to one of the more insignificant parts of the first episode. But so in the first episode, you sort of we didn't talk about it, but we briefly touched on the classroom segment that happened at the beginning of the episode. Um, you come to find out that okay, I'm out of order right now. So one of his classmates had a loose button on their or was it a loose button or was it a missing button on their
uh
uniform?
it was
Uh,
loose,
I
and
can't remember,
he
but
carried
dude
a
pulls out a
sewing kit.
sewing kit.
Yep.
Yeah, dude pulls out a sewing kit and just sews the button right back on. You come to find out that his sister taught him how to do that. So his sister kind of it kind of shows you that his sister knew what he would have to deal with in the paradigm of this world that they kind of all live in. So he was prepared by his sister
To be a
to
bitch.
sort of do these to sort of be a bitch and be able to fit into this world in the best way that he can, and
Right.
that's kind of what you get from that. And you see it again in the second episode, like he's giving a shoulder massage, knowing that kind of men, I wouldn't say they're second class citizens, but they're essentially second class citizens in this series. He's gonna have to do stuff like that, and his sister did a very good job of preparing him for all of this.
Yep.
And
And yeah, he sees the
yeah.
cleavage and decides that he can hold out a little longer.
Well, let's put it this way. He's thinking with one head rather than the other.
Yeah, and that's, that could be a disastrous combination. You don't do that, but he's probably a virgin, so things
Definitely a virgin.
so
I think she literally calls him. I think it's literally referenced in this next sequence that he's a virgin.
yeah, yeah. So like if right after that, she pretty much if I remember correctly, I'm gonna say it a lot because until I write notes, it's all off the head. They start.
So
She challenges him to Street Fighter.
Street Fighter 2, motherfucker.
Right, and they make a rule that it's going to be pretty much strip poker of Street Fighter.
And he's way too overconfident in this moment because like he's the guy who like, oh, if I play this certain character, none of my friends want to fucking play me and shit like that. I'm gonna see some fucking TNA right now. Like
and like
you're on.
and
I'll
like
get
to be
that picture
fair,
deleted in no time.
and like to be fair, you can see it shows the game playing out, and it looks like it was like slightly evenly matched because she is missing like her overshirt. No, she was wearing the tank top, so she won every round. So and
You
it's
won every round, and you get to see every round they played, and all it is a bunch of fucking Cammy KOing Guile. I don't know what my mouth did there, but we're gonna roll with it. Um, yeah. So I mean, Cammy, one of our Street Fighter favorites. Just yeah, I have a funny story about Cammy. We'll tangent for a second, but you play Black Ops 2 back in
no,
the day?
just multiplayer.
So, well, so you remember the emblem system on there? How you could how it was really in depth and you could use a lot of layers and different shapes and shit like that.
Yeah,
My emblem was literally Cammy's ass.
that's hot.
I know she got a nice booty though. Like to be fair, I think there's a reason why I kind of like unitards.
Hey, I mean, we all like them
And
in some extent. Let's be honest here. So,
it's all because of Cammy.
yeah, I mean, we all have our regrets. I mean, all these kids of our age are all about, Shigo and all these other stupid characters, and like I'm just like thinking to myself, God, what was the first thing that got me like, oh, and that I mean, I'll be honest with you, there was a lot, but I think the number one thing that did that for me was probably what was the series? It might have been honestly most that's another cliche one, but it was probably Elfenlied when I was like 12, 12 or 13 when that was
Okay,
airing.
I'm gonna
He,
say this. The first thing that kind of got me to go, oh, and it actually explains a lot about me, was Botan from Yu Yu Hakusho.
you would be a
Probably
boat.
my first anime girl
Botan
crush.
would be your favorite right off the bat, girl crush.
Well, yeah, cause fucking I don't know what it was about colored hair back then, and obviously, like I've dated a lot of girls with colored hair, so it kind of stuck. And then
Uh,
fucking Silent Mobius, because that one had a lot of female characters. I think one of the fucking characters was either like Kat or Katsumi, and she had blue hair. I got a thing for like blue hair, fire truck red hair, pink hair, that kind of shit. Just odd hair colors. So, hey, ladies, you got some odd hair colors? Slide into my DMs.
yeah, etchy guy wants to talk to you.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about all the anime titties I look at all day and how I'm slightly desensitized. And by desensitized, I mean, yeah, we can go for hours.
Yeah. So like that
Exactly.
happens and obviously he loses. So she goes in like we get to
Yep.
see her
And he gets
powers.
fucking bodied.
Yeah, and like
Oh,
she
her
turns into her
powers.
giant form cuz she can grow.
It fucking sits on the motherfucker because the dude refuses to take his boxers off after getting fucking bodied, and she wants to see his little ding ding,
Yeah, and he's like, "Well,
his little ding dong, his
we
tangle.
we don't want to make this sexual harassment. Like what if I dominate you?" And that's when she
What?
grows.
And she's like, "Oh, you're the one in danger." Plays with him like a little fucking action figure. Then fucking
Yeah,
uses her giant ass. Now, I gotta guess. So like, fucking, I don't know what the age range of these characters are, but I can't guess. I have to guess that the dudes can't be more than like 5'5", and she's like 2.5 times his size. So it's like this fucking probably like 10.5 foot fucking Amazonian motherfucking blondie with now ginormous titties and some cake to match, sitting on this dude, stripping his boxers off to look at his ding dong.
which she quotes that it's a tiny little guy. Poor bastard.
She laughs at it. Oh my god, dude, that sequence is so fucking funny. Where like he pretty much dies inside, and you see him like fall into the void of fucking despair. Literally,
Yeah,
they animate him falling into the void of despair.
yeah, and then like
Oh, it's
legitimately right
so
after
good.
that, we hear noises outside. So he puts on like a towel real quick. He doesn't put his pants back on, and we see that.
Yeah, his boxers are like right within reach, which I thought was a little bit off, but
Yeah,
like
but in
it
emergency
plays into later on.
situations, you gotta do what you gotta do. So
I don't know. Fucking, there's been times back in my youth where I was banging and had to do something and fucking just actually threw all my clothes on real quick. That's kind of an emergency situation. I'm sure he could have
but
grabbed them all,
but was it life
but it
threatening?
doesn't play into the. Well, it depends on what you think life threatening, I guess. Like, are we talking about like does it threaten your life or is it a mild inconvenience? Because there's a
Well,
lot of people who take mild inconveniences as life threatening. Like, come on, let's talk about it for real. But no, so he's in a fucking towel, and they run out to the courtyard area because like this whole campus that they're on. What do they call them? Do they call them campuses, universities? I can't remember. It's something weird. Academies? Is it
it's an ac-
academies?
it's an academy. Yeah,
They call it an academy, but so it's like this old school. I wouldn't quite say like pagoda looking style building, but it looks like a fucking higher upper class like rich person's dojo.
yeah. Yeah, like
kind of thing,
a
you know.
rich Japanese person's place. Yeah, and yeah, so
So
then
they
like
run into the middle square area because they have to have a middle square area, and then you see this big ass Shuki. This big ass Shuki's just fucking beating that barrier,
so
and she's like,
she's like, I got this, and so she goes in the giant mode,
"Paradigm shift."
which what her power just reminds me of what's her nuts from Seven Deadly Sins, but
I actually never watched Seven Deadly Sins. I tried,
don't waste your
but
time. Don't waste your
I,
time.
I so it's one of those things where we've talked about this before. I probably should have watched the sub rather than the dub because the English dubbed voices annoyed the shit out of me.
Nothing new. So
So hey, some English dubs are really fucking good.
so
Like
yep,
I
yep.
won't watch Cowboy Bebop subbed because the English dub of Cowboy Bebop's what I grew up with, and I love Spike's voice actor. Can't
I
remember his name, but
I
he's
I
been
just
on a lot of advertisements for me lately.
I just won't. I just don't. I don't partake in the Cowboy Bebop.
That's a shame. It is a fantastic series.
It's a soundtrack.
I'm I'm gonna fucking what me and you next when I actually get you down to my place, over to my place. I'm not sure where we are respectively. I'm pretty sure you're north of me. But
Yes.
when I get you down to my place, pretty sure I got the full DVD set for Cowboy Bebop. We're gonna sit and watch it. I'll watch whatever you want
No.
me to watch, even if I fucking cry. No, we're gonna watch it because yes, it is a soundtrack, but it's a fucking classic. And I mean, you could say the same
No.
fucking thing about FLCL. Like FLCL's, yeah, FLCL, Fooly
Fully
Cooly.
Cooley. I
It's
mean,
a
yeah.
fucking soundtrack,
Fully Cooley is literally
but
just a artistic hipster piece.
and I fucking love it.
But
And we we had this conversation literally the other day. Like, okay, we're gonna come back to this. These episodes, I don't know if they're gonna be released at the same time, Squid Tales, and then this episode. But we'll talk about this on Squid Tales. I'm putting a footnote on this.
yes, okay. Put a
We're gonna
footnote
talk
on this.
about this.
So we get outside. She's
But
fighting the guy, and he wants to feel useful because obviously there's nothing he can really do. So the only logical thing he
but
thinks
she's
of,
been so you gotta you know we have to talk about the fact that she single-handedly in a fairly well done combat sequence because we cannot shy away from this because we actually led up and built up to this little conversation that we were going to have right now a little earlier in the episode. So she turns giant and she fights the first Shuki.
yep,
And this combat sequence compared to the other Shuki combat sequences looked fucking great. Like there's weight behind it and all this stuff because she's a giant fighting a giant Shuki. There's one moment where the Shuki throws a punch at her. She kind of dodges off to the side, does that thing where she grabs the Shuki's arm underneath her arm, flips it over her head. It's done very well in my opinion, a lot better than the other ones we've seen. She defeats it. She thinks she's all done. She's kind of celebrating. She sort of shrinks down in size a little bit because one thing you have to know about her character, and I think it's even brought up in the first episode, uh, she lacks stamina.
yeah. And then
So she
on
kind of
top of
goes
that,
all out with her powers.
this also kind of brings back to earlier in the episode as well when Uzen was practicing with Himari, and she's talking about how you have to like not necessarily restrain yourself, but make sure you're like know your enemy and yourself so you don't overexert yourself. And this it's literally what's
Yeah.
happening right now is she went too hard too fast,
Yeah.
and, and now she's kind of like you said
So,
shrinking a little bit.
so then she easily defeats, I would say, that first Shuki, but she used a lot of her power. Let's compare it back to Dragon Ball Z. It's
Uh,
like Goku fighting fucking Majin Buu in Super Saiyan 3. He fucking exerts a lot of himself, can't maintain that power, shortens his time on Earth. We'll compare it to that because I think everyone's watched that at this point, so they can kind of get a good. idea there off of that. But she's
Only at
shrinking down. She's kind of celebrating,
yeah, yeah,
and
and
another Shuki of the same size comes up and attacks her, and she gets thrown back into the walls of the academy.
yep,
And she's like, "Oh shit! I guess there's another one." And you kind of get to see this cool sort of sequence of these tinier Shuki combining together to become this larger Shuki and working together more as like a hive unit rather than these individual primalistic animal-like beings that we kind of because I feel like in this sequence it kind of makes the Shuki kind of I don't know, it makes you understand the Shuki a little better because and the first time we really see them fight, it looks like almost like a pack of animals.
yeah,
This time when we see them fight, it looks more like a hive mind
yep. I can
because
agree
they're
on that.
combining to become the bigger Shuki. She gets up, she gets ready to fight it. We got Yuki in the background. He's kind of sort of in that watchtower area. I'm pretty sure where we saw him before checking out some TNA, which those I'm gonna say I will say it. The tits in that sequence earlier, I could take them or leave them. They could have been a lot better drawn, but so well, dude, like if you, I'm gonna challenge you to go back on this episode later tonight or tomorrow and just kind of observe that tit sequence. They're really not that great.
Well, to be fair as
Like,
well, we were getting it from a balcony perspective, not
but
like
like they just didn't look right. They just didn't. We were getting it from a balcony perspective, but again, they could have been done a little bit better. They could have been done a little bit better. The nipples could have been a little more pink,
oh, maybe she's a light,
but
maybe she's a light pinker. You know, you never know.
light pinker. But so we got Yuki in the background saying, I'm useless. I'm useless. I really wish I could fight, but I'm essentially useless without fucking oozing around. And you pretty much get to see fucking Shushu getting kind of bodied for a minute there. Like they have a sequence where her shirt rips open because this is a cultured anime. A big part of her shirt rips open. You get to see some cleavage of a giant lady, which who doesn't love a giant lady's cleavage? But so we get to this point where she's kind of reached her limit. She thinks she's going to get smaller again soon. She actually kind of sort of has this inner monologue where it's like, well, fuck, I used too much power. I think I'm going to shrink soon. And then I'll leave this next part up to you, Mister School, because you were kind of trying to get into it earlier before we got all this build up to it.
God, it's so nice. So
So take
he's
it
he's
away.
he's trying to figure out what he can do to transform. And at first he's like, okay, so if her finger in my mouth transforms me, maybe something of hers that has obviously touched her can work for me. And I slightly got set up for disappointment for this scene. However, at first he's like sucking her glove and that barely like does anything. So then he goes to her used shirts and like he gets like a leg transformation, but that wasn't quite enough. So I'm thinking mentally to myself, okay, this man's gonna go straight for the fucking panties and give him a whip. But no, he goes for the boot, right? He's gonna be a bootlicker. Ironic, slave boy bootlicker. And he licks the boot and gets like I'd say like a 85% transformation. Everything
They, they,
from the head down.
Shushu did call it a half transformation. So
She
he doesn't get the size that he gets when he has a full transformation. He doesn't change his head, so it's very much him with sharp teeth, kind of sort of the body design of his slave form, but with like the arms like half transformed. He doesn't get much bigger, as I said, but like the arms are transformed, the legs are transformed.
Yeah, and then he
It's
comes in
it's
and
I
takes
want to
care
talk
of
about
business.
that transformation though. That
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
good transformation. That was a good transformation. I liked him in that form because They didn't. At least I didn't notice CGI in that situation when he was half transformed.
Oh no, that would look awkward as hell if they did that.
I think that half transformation was done very well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he comes in and he's like, hold him, shoo shoo," and then fucking like, oh my god, that attack was actually really fucking good. I liked that sequence. Pretty much fucking jumps up the motherfucker, and you kind of get that sort of like nothing personal kid fucking anime slash style up his body. Oh, it's fantastic. And of course he poofs away, and I'm gonna talk about this part because fucking it's pretty funny. So, of course, as he's running in fucking fast as hell anime style across the bridge, jumps up, fucking does his little fucking slash attack down the directly up the center of the monster. So he's way high up in the air right now because you got to remember these are giants. And he's like, "That's it. I've used up all my power." You can see his body physically going back to what it was, and he's falling. He's like, "I can't move my body," blah 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 blah, and he falls straight into fucking Shoo Shoo's giant cleavage.
Yeah,
It's
like a
fucking
bat,
phenomenal.
like a big
He's
bathtub of Jello, just in.
like the thing that most people should probably dream about. I don't care who you are, what your orientation is. You should probably dream about being in a giant's cleavage. But like, yeah, he's like, you saved me, but I can't get out. And she kind of sort of has her devious, sort of playful personality going on. Her life's all about fun. And actually, she literally stated that earlier in the episode. I think it was in the sequence where she caught him peeking into the bathhouse. And she took the picture, and he's like, "What, are you going to turn me in now?" And he's like, "No, I just like to stir the pot. Life's about having fun, pretty
Tee.
much." And so they shrink down, and of course, let's go back to a little bit little earlier in the episode. He's got just a towel on when he's running out, so he's buck ass fucking naked at this point in the transformation.
Oh yeah,
And
towel's gone. Towel's gone.
she looks at his, she looks at him, and she's like, "Whoa!" And it kind of has that moment with a glint in her eye.
He's a full on
And
rager.
he's got a full on fucking hard on right now. He's like, "I get excited when I transform. It's not that big."
He's,
This is what I love about this series, honestly. Those fucking moments. And he turns around all embarrassed and fucking so
she's blushing like a
you know
motherfucker,
she's
obviously.
she's she's blushing like a motherfucker. She's like, "That kind of looks kind of interesting. I'm interested. I'm down with that. I will put that in and around my mouth."
Ah!
Literally, you can see it in her fucking eyes.
Oh yeah,
But so then, yeah, he transformed off to licking his master's boots, but she's still got to give him the reward. So you kind of see this very deep
aggressive.
massage going on, very aggressive, deep massage going on. And
Do
she
you
like
think?
literally sits on him like a
Do you
fucking dub. What do I think? What?
Do you think that like she's at this meeting and then she gets this like sudden like tingle in me and like, oh what the fuck? What the fuck? I have to give this guy a fucking reward when I get back? Or do you think like it just like I don't know how the
So
contract works. So like
so what I think happens is like, I don't know, because I feel like it's more in like close proximity with him. So like once she gets back, her body starts to move on its own. Because if you think about it, like I don't know if there's like a tingle or if a feeling like she's got to do it right then and there, but it's definitely shown that her body sort of moves on its own to give the reward.
okay, okay.
And I don't know if that has to do with them being in close proximity with each other. But I'd like to think that, like, she's at this meeting, she's fine, and then she gets back, and all of a sudden her body starts moving.
That's fair. I accept that. But yeah, like you were saying, this deep massage looks like he's not enjoying it whatsoever, which is fair because deep tissue massages fucking suck at first.
But
Um,
my favorite fucking part of this sequence is like when she's done giving the massage and she just sits on him like a fucking dommy mommy sitting on her sub, and then fucking gives him a little slap on the ass.
yeah,
That's like
yeah,
straight up one of my favorite fucking parts. And then fucking she gets up and she starts walking off to do her own thing. And then my favorite little Miss Shushu goes and just fucking plops right down on him. Fucking sits on his back as he's trying to get up.
and then like
And this is the point.
for some
Go
reason,
ahead.
she's like punishing them for this whole situation. So now apparently, him and Shushu have to all do the house chores now, but that's not the case.
So Shushu enlightens us with a photo of him having a fucking rager and her
Dude,
looking like she's just disgusted by it. And it's fucking great, dude.
she
Like
she's up.
he sits there and he literally says, "How did you get the perfect picture?"
Yeah, like that picture was
It's
like
fuck.
spot on. Like she nailed it. Like she's an
She really
Instagram
did.
connoisseur, you know?
I mean, OnlyFans connoisseur at this.
That's fair.
You
That's
know.
fair. Yeah, yeah. And like so yeah, she's all excited about this now. And like obviously
She,
considering this
she's
is
like, I think we'll keep the same arrangement.
yeah, yeah, and obviously this being a etchy harem, obviously all of these girls are end up gonna falling in love with him. So this is clearly starting the build up between these two relationship of whatever sort that's going to develop into.
And then you kind of get a little pan of her standing around the corner as she left.
Yeah, looking
And
all
it's
giddy
funny
giddy.
because she's all blushing, like straight fucking in love with this dude. And she's like, I'll never let you go, Yuki.
Yeah, as she's sniffing his boxers. I'm just kidding. That wasn't in the scene, but
I wish that was in the scene.
yeah,
But
she's
then I can, so since I've read the manga, I can only fucking slightly touch on this next scene because I know what it leads up to. And I don't want to ruin it for you guys if you guys just watched it.
right.
So it transitions, it kind of blacks and it transitions over to another team from the same squad, the what Mato Defense Force, I think it's called.
Yep, yep. And
Um,
they're getting raped. Um,
they're getting fucking bodied, and they're in like the orchard where the fruits grow because earlier in the episode they touch on how the barriers work, and the barriers are usually around academies and places that the fruits grow. They're
right.
getting fucking
Just
bodied, and you got
yeah.
this big massive shuki with a single fucking horn sticking out of its head, literally about to eat these motherfuckers. And then so you remember how we talked about 50% transformations, guys? You get this girl who looks like she's about 50% transformed, and she tells the big unicorn Shuki, now this guy's fucking massive and she's tiny, so we're gonna talk about like power scaling here. She
Uh,
tells him not to eat the other members of the defense force because he's trying to eat them, and it straight looks like it's gonna turn into a Tenti Henti. Now, Tenti Henti is my vernacular for tentacle hentai. Looks like it's about to turn into a Tenti Henti scene because his tongue is all fucked up. Tells her,
y-
don't eat them. And he listens.
yeah, and
And
then
then
like
you
yeah, all I was gonna say is yeah. Then pretty much she goes on the point that she can smell Yuki, and she pretty much comes up acting like she's trying to track him down.
okay, okay. So you had good comprehension on that because I don't think she actually talks about Yuki at that point at all.
Are you sure? Because I thought she was referencing the fact that she was looking for she scented his scent and that she's looking for him.
But she doesn't actually ever say Yuki.
Okay, fine, but it makes sense. Okay, who else would she
It
be
makes
looking for?
sense.
And like, might
Well,
I add?
the he part is what kind of leads people to kind of that conclusion, and I was led to that conclusion when I read the panels in the manga. Um,
And
but yeah, she's looking
and I
for
the
she's looking for Yuki.
and my favorite part is that the voice actress Tomori, she's oh I fucking love Tomori. She's the voice actress for like so many people like from like shows I love for reference for a voice that you'll know, she plays Mommy Makima. And,
Okay.
and,
I'm
and
gonna
uh,
have I watched only some of the episodes subbed back when it was first released in the first season. I'm gonna go back and watch them all subbed eventually, but
dude,
because
she's
I want to see
played.
differences. I like to see differences.
Yeah, dude, she's played like so many of like my favorite roles in the last few years because she's pretty young. She was born in I want to say like '99. Young. I keep up with
Yeah.
my Japanese voice actors and voice actresses, but I love I love her. She's fucking amazing. So I'm really excited to see how much of a role she plays coming up in the future here because even if her character's shit, I love her voice. So
I'm gonna talk about character design too. Fucking, I love her character design.
you love her little cockroach antennae.
No, it's more of the
The
So I don't know, man. What Monster Girl is that? Moe?
yeah.
I don't fucking know all the terms, but like, I don't know, man. Fucking, I've always had a thing for fucking like the Monster Girl, the Neko, that kind of stuff. Like, it's good design. Usually they make it kind of sexy, and honestly, usually they make it a little too sexy because it's there to fetishize, and I'm not saying I fetishize it, but I like sexy things, and they
He's
did a
not.
damn good job at making her character look kind of sexy.
He's not saying he
Especially the
fantasized.
way she kind of sits
He's not,
on the fucking big guy's shoulder at the end and fucking eats the fucking fruit. Like, oof.
he's not saying he fantasizes about it, but he fetishizes about it hard. Let's be real here.
I'm not saying that I want a fucking cowgirl
She's a
to
cow.
squirt her titty milk straight into my mouth, but I kind of like
Oh
monster girls.
yeah, Monster Musume was probably your favorite series of all time.
I never watched that, but like
Oh,
I'm getting into things. I'm not saying I played Moe. I'm not saying I've played a couple chapters of Moe Chronicles, but I might have.
that's fair. That's fair. But yeah. So I that's the first two episodes. Is there anything you really want to add for this week before we wrap up the episodes 1 and 2 review before the next week's episode?
I will say I think I said it earlier in the episode reviews, but episode 2 hit a lot harder than episode 1 did. I thought episode 1 was disappointing. Episode 2 I thought was good. You kind of sort of get more of the interactions between the characters, how the household sort of operates and whatnot. Um, God, I can't wait to fucking see some of the shit that's coming up because where I stopped in the manga, dude, that's like fucking peak shit going on now. But I really, I'm not gonna get too hard on the studio because I don't know what studio did this anime,
It was seven
but
arcs.
I do kind of hope it gets handed off to another studio because I think someone else could do better with it than they did.
Fair.
If that
So
makes
yeah, no, that
any sort
makes
of sense, because the story is fucking there, but like for the most part, the action sequences haven't been so good so far. They got a little bit better, but I'm not going to say it's fucking peak action sequences in the second episode either.
no,
But
no.
and I don't know what else Seven Arc has done. I'm gonna actually quickly look it up on my other monitor
Um,
here.
they've done a lot of like magical girl shit, and then they did the other one that's really popular. I'm trying to think of it.
Did
Um,
you say Seventh Arc
Seven
or
arcs. Yep,
Seven Arc?
7 arcs. Yep. I know they did Tony Kawa Over the Moon for You. Um, but other than that,
Over.
I mean they haven't done a whole hell of a
They
lot of stuff.
they did Sekirei, and I do like Sekirei.
Of course you did.
I did.
Well, good.
I did. It
But
was great. It's fantastic. Ooh, I
but
saw a fucking thumbnail I might be interested in.
oh
I liked Basilisk too for the most part.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I have
That
some
was a little bit of a weird one, but
I have some hopes for it. So hopefully going forward we get some better episodes, and I have faith in the story. Like you said, obviously with you reading the source material, but it's just depending if
yeah,
this studio can keep up going on. Is pretty much what I'm getting at.
exactly. I see the review wise for the episodes right now, at least they're sitting at like 4 star, which I think 4 star is pretty fucking good in the grand scheme of things.
Out of
But
5 or out of 10?
out of 5.
Oh, okay, okay.
So,
Well,
so yeah, the episodes have been sitting at about a 4 star out of 5. I've been watching them on High Dive, and that's where you guys can catch this anime if you would like to watch it. Personally, I would recommend reading the source material. That's just
yeah,
me because I have read the source material. But yeah, anime wise, if you want to watch it, it's got some good funny scenes. It's got some harem action. It's got some cute girls. It
yeah,
really does. I do like the vibe of what's her name. I do like the vibe of Uzin. Like I like the whole fucking damn near commander hat. You know, there is of course one lolly character, which I'm personally not into lolly. I'm not gonna fully judge you if you are, but it is a little weird. Like it is. Like she may be a 4,000-year-old vampire, but she looked fucking like 9. I'm thinking of Dancing the Vampire Bund right now, which was kind of one of those fucking caught me off guard etchy series.
yeah. I
Not
think
super etchy, but like you got to see some like fucking weird 9-year-old titty moments.
I think if I were to rate
That
this at the moment, mine would be for going off the out of tens or out of five scale. I'd say it's probably like a 3.5 for me at this point. So not too far off from you, but I definitely could see some improvement, and I see potential. So I'll
Yeah,
go.
I think if I were to give it a rating, I'd give it a solid 3, just because of the gripes I've had, and being someone who's read the source material, I think that they're not quite doing the source material justice at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
And if they were to save it right now, the best way I think they could save it is to now we're gonna have you never watched JJK, but we're gonna have a JJK moment where the animation style needs to change a little bit, and I'm not talking like the actual animation style. They need to get away from the CGI. That's really what it is. The CGI definitely ruins it. They need to do a little more work on their background art. I thought the background art in the second episode was a lot better, but I feel like that's just because it was in an important place. Again, flat backgrounds. I don't like it. Like we're about to talk about Orange, and one of the things I loved about Orange, we'll talk about when I talk about Orange.
Yeah.
So
So
watch that one too.
yes. So yeah, I guess that will conclude the first two episodes of Chain Soldier. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. It helps out a lot. And if you're feeling real generous, hit that subscribe button. We will have a new episode of this out next week. And if you've watched this or if you haven't watched this, we have a Squid Tales coming out right after this. So yeah, I guess that'll be it for now. This has been Squids and our etchy guy over here.
The etchy man, the etchy man. So watch for me because I might actually start. I mean, honestly, I think I've been your most reoccurring guest
Oh,
at this point.
you
So
have. So
who knows? This might turn into a little mini network, and you might have the etchy guy on here quite a bit. So.
all right. Well, I guess we'll see y'all later. Peace.